Well, hello and good morning.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see you,
Welcome.
Catherine.
It's good to see you too. And to our viewers, welcome to Morning Musings. We're Kathryn and Rachael, and together we are two life coaches who spend a lot of time helping people untangle the messes that life tends to throw at us.
Every week we're grabbing a cup of coffee, and in my case, a cup of water because I'm trying to hydrate,
Yep.
and talking about the patterns, habits, coping mechanisms, and downright weird things that sometimes we can do that keep us stuck. So if you've ever found yourself thinking, oh, I'm never going to be okay. This always happens to me. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. You're in the right place because I have had all those thoughts and feelings too. And there is hope for healing.
Absolutely. And so as life coaches, we have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And
Yes,
we
I have a
love
whole thing
helping.
full of t-shirts. In fact,
Yes,
I've got so many t-shirts for this kind of thing, I could make a quilt. There's this, did you see there's this new company that you box up all your t-shirts?
I did
And
see that.
yes, and I'm seriously thinking about it.
Yes, yeah.
I
I,
have
I
too many
think
t-shirts.
I love t-shirt quilts and I love that have sentimental value and then they are so comfy. So,
Yes, they
yeah,
are. And they do, it's a great way to utilize your t-shirts and not just throw them out and,
yeah,
and make more waste in the landfills.
exactly.
For
So when
Pete's sakes.
exactly. So when life gives you lemons, make a t-shirt quilt.
Yeah.
So today's episode, before we get too derailed, is coming from the phrase, maybe I'm the problem.
Yes,
So,
and so when I hear this, this excites me because it's the literal first step of real growth.
yes.
When we face that horrible reality that, oh my gosh, um I think I could be the problem. For me it was kind of simple because if you have one failed marriage, maybe it was his fault. Two failed marriages, I might be part of the problem. Three, yeah, I'm the problem. There's
Yep.
a pattern here, you know.
Yes, there's a pattern here, and that's the thing that I help with many of my clients. And it may not be like failed marriages. It could be, general relationships. It could be family relationships,
Well,
friendships.
excuse me.
Bless you. I definitely help a lot of young people who keep finding themselves in familiar friendships or coworker relationships where it's like, how come I keep attracting these same kinds of people?
Mhm.
Am I the problem?
Yeah. Well,
And
and it's the pattern. So, often I see a lot of couples, and so often I try to remind them, look, he, you are not the problem and you are not the problem, but the pattern is the problem
yes. Yeah.
because it does feel horrible to feel like we just talked about identity, in our last meeting, we talked about identity. It's horrible to think of yourself as I'm the problem.
Right.
But definitely we have to be honest and open about the fact that I'm in a pattern that is a problem. How do I interrupt this pattern?
Yes. How can I be a cycle breaker?
Right.
And as coaches, those are the people that we love to talk to. And so, yeah, one of the things that it's really important to kind of look at is healthy self-reflection versus self-blame,
Mhm.
beating up on yourself. And so
Self-loathing. Yeah.
yes, yes. So we
Mhm.
love for you to come in and ask that, am I the problem? Is it me? How we especially love how can I break the cycle? But so we really walk you through healthy self-reflection where we teach you how to have curiosity and
Yes.
to acknowledge mistakes and to learn and make repairs. Like, we do not come from a place of, oh my gosh, Rachael, you should have had this figured out. we come from a place of that's really interesting. Why did you react that way? Like
Yeah.
what led to that? What would you do differently now? How would you have wanted somebody else to handle that? Would you have that same expectation of somebody else? So, and then we re really, at least I do with my clients, I really try to crack down on self-blame, where you're not going to internalize mistakes as proof that you are fundamentally broken or defective. Not in my presence, boo. Not in my presence. So,
Well,
um,
you're making me think of a time, and of course, I guess I'm the person here who likes to share, some of those things, situations like that. But I had refinanced my house because I wanted to pay myself out of debt, and I was almost done paying off my house there when I was in on the ranch in Roston. And so I'd only $6,000 left to pay on the home. And so I thought, well, this, I've got some wealth built up in the house. I'm going to go ahead and pay myself completely out of debt. And, because I was aging. And anyway, long story short, when I discussed it with the bank, everything was good. And I needed 36,000 to do everything, my car and everything. And then but I didn't make it clear that that was in addition to the 6,000 that I still owed on the house. So at the end of the day, she called me. She said, "Oh, the board met and they're fine with your loan. You just come in and sign the papers. Your loan for 36,000." And I'm driving along and I said, "I I need the 42 or 44 or whatever it was, not 30, not just 36." And she said, "Oh, we're going to have to go back before the board, all that." And I spent 2 hours talking to myself in a way that I would never talk to anybody else. This internal dialogue was just self-blame. So when you're talking about that, it sounded like you are so stupid. Why
mhm.
you never pay attention to details the way you lack follow through. You're so dumb. I spent 2 hours doing that. And it was miserable.
Yeah.
So this didn't help. Really, what I needed to do was make a plan to go over there, make sure that they had all the right details, correct it, and move along and say, Notice to self, make a note about making sure that you're
Hmm.
clear." I did. The impact was the same. I learned a lesson that
Hmm.
day. Why did I need to spend 2 hours beating myself up? That did not make me learn any better. In fact, what it did was it wore me out, and I hated on myself for a while. So
It's
that's not the kind of
distracting.
that's not the kind of maybe I'm the problem we're looking for. What we're looking for is ownership.
Yes.
I see I'm involved in some really bad patterns and I don't know how to break them.
Right, right. Yeah. So we're looking at that point, we're like looking for facts instead of feelings.
Yes.
And we're looking for you to take some responsibility without taking all the responsibility or putting all the responsibility back on somebody else either.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's one of the actual homework papers I have that I go through with clients if they make it up to it. It's kind of in the middle of everything. So we work through a lot of the really light stuff. It looks light, but then whenever we're really working through it, they end up coming up with some problems. And so it takes a long time to get up to it, but the 5% more paper is what I call it. And we work on so we've done all the work on identifying where there's incomplete things in your life, messes in your life, things that just need to-do lists. We build a lot of to-do lists, things that are bugging you and whatnot. And then we come up to this 5% more paper, and it's like, okay, what would it look like if you took 5% more responsibility in the cleanliness of your house? Or 5% more responsibility for the way your relationships are going right now, or 5% more responsibility for how much your job is stressing you out. Whatever it is that we've previously worked on, we will now translate over to that 5% more paper and start working on that I'm not asking you to take full responsibility. I'm asking you to take like 5%. Like,
That's very strong. How does it, I'm curious what kinds of responses and does it make them feel hopeful? I mean, what is the response you're getting from that?
yeah, well, initially, when people look at it, they go, oh, there's kind of the overwhelm, or there's the like, oh, this is not what I signed up for. I don't want more responsibility. And sometimes there's a little bit of grief that works through where they realize that I do have some responsibility in how this is running in my life and or not running in my life.
Or it's how it's making them feel. I
Yeah.
think that when we talk about responsibility, we are talking about responsibility for how we feel.
Hmm.
Because we are all 100% responsible for how we feel. Bad things happen to us, things that are out of our control happen to us, but we get to choose how we feel. That doesn't mean we're
Right.
not shocked when we and pay and in pain when we hear something that's shocking and painful. But it
Right.
does mean we do get to choose how we want to take care of ourselves and feel for the rest of the week or the next 2 hours.
Yes, yeah. And that's where usually the page ends whenever we get through all of that. There's kind of that breath of relief in that I didn't realize 5% more was at the sign at the time so much, but also so little. Like if I just take 5% more in cleaning my house, if that's an issue that they've been having, then that doesn't look like the whole house getting clean. That looks like picking the kitchen countertop, if that's what bugs you, or 5 dishes. If I take 5% more responsibility in cleaning my house, I wash 5 dishes. And it gives them steps to this is how I can start taking back my power. This is how I can start working on some of this, breaking it down into little pieces so that I can do it instead of the whole thing at the same time.
Exactly.
And it just kind of opens up the idea of there are things I'm responsible for. There are probably things I've been neglecting, but I don't have to fix it overnight.
Yeah, I think that also a lot of the people who are showing up, and certainly I was one of these that were showing up in also they're showing up in therapy, but they're also showing up in coaching as well, are people who have been so outwardly focused on managing the emotions and feelings of other people that they have no skills when it comes to, or that let's just say that we have no skills when it comes to managing our own emotions and feelings and who we allow and what we allow to have access to ourselves. So we often have a hard time giving 5% more to anything without the also being trained how to stop feeling like you need to manage the emotions and feelings and of other people external to you. So it's almost like those two things need to be connected
Yeah.
where, okay, I'm going to ask you, what does it look like 5% for you to own the responsibility of 5% of more of something that's bothering you, which is a wonderful approach. It's what it's teaching them is to show up for
Yeah.
themselves, keep a promise, and see what that feels like. Where, look, I showed up for myself all week this week, and I kept a promise to myself. This starts interrupting the pattern that is a self-abandonment to chase after external approval.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, and then, I think also thinking about self-approval, I think sometimes a lot of people get stuck in that mindset of self-blame because it helps deflect away. So maybe I am the problem now becomes a deflection to where I don't have to deal with these because we're looking at how I'm a problem. And
Yes,
I
this
can,
is just how I am. We're
this
back
is,
to the identity.
we're back to the identity thing.
Yeah, this is how
Exactly.
I am. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just an alcoholic. This
Yes.
is why I would never say something bad about um, Alcoholics AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or any of those programs, because in many cases, those are very effective approaches, but not for everyone. For some
Yeah.
people, that forever diagnosis of being, I am an alcoholic. I do think that the reason that that whole foundation is that way, the foundation of belief is that way, is because probably a lot of us have a tendency to uh, play fast and loose with words. And so we can kind of bullshit ourselves into thinking, I'm really not the problem. I mean, I can say I'm the problem, but I'm really not the problem. And it's okay.
Right,
So
right.
I think
Yeah.
that's why that's kind of a hard line. But I do struggle with the I'm just the reason I can't do this is just I'm an alcoholic. You struggle with alcoholism,
Yes.
but you can choose, and people have done it hundreds of thousands of times, chosen not to involve themselves with alcohol if they know that alcohol happens to be a problem for them.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that was something Brene Brown, who's a famous shame researcher, talked
Yes.
about because she had gone to some AA meetings and she really didn't fit in because she wasn't an alcoholic, but she was somebody who wanted to have a better relationship with alcohol. And she just didn't really fit in there. And then, especially as she was continuing her research on shame versus guilt, she started to see, some of the why she didn't fit in there. And
Yes.
so,
Great segue.
yes, yeah. So, her research on shame, uh, she discovered that shame focuses on the self. So it
Mhm.
is very selfish in a lot of ways, and it says like I am bad
Yes.
versus guilt focuses on the behavior and says I did something bad.
I did something bad. How can I do it different next time? But shame is I am bad. And then
Yes.
you're stuck. Where do you go from there?
Where do you go
If the
from
whole
there?
vessel is poison, then
Yes.
how do you then go out and do good?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
It is. It's impossible. And
Yes.
so that thought of maybe I'm the problem or maybe I caused a problem, maybe I did something wrong, inappropriate, you know, whatever it is, that opens it up to instead of I'm the problem, I did something that's a problem. Now how do I fix it?
Yeah.
It takes out it takes out the domino and
Well, it
keeps
gives
the
you the
rest of them
power
from
back.
falling.
Yeah.
And it gives you your
Yeah, it
power
gives you the
back.
power back to change it. Um, I had a client recently ask me, "Do you think that there's hope for it was a couple. Do you think there's hope for us?" Of course there's hope. Of course there's hope.
Of
You
course.
this journey is if it's not if there is no hope, then don't do it. But there, of course, there's hope. We can own our feelings. We can own the responsibility of how we want to feel.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, DB Bedford, the great coach from California, that's a friend of mine, talks a lot about choosing to have the superpower of being calm, that
Hmm.
not allowing somebody's reaction to something or somebody's response to you to own the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Those are choices, and that he made, that he teaches people to make now. Yes, you're gonna run into some things that and events and things that are really upsetting. People who speak to you in a bad way. We get to choose. The power is with us. When we're
Yeah.
blaming, we are not only offloading the responsibility, but we are also giving away the power. to change our reality.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for that, I honestly, I wake up every single day and I cannot describe the freedom that it feels like to just have that superpower, to be
Right.
able to say, Nothing that happens." I mean, there are things that might happen today that might be terribly painful. Some horrible thing might happen and somebody I love may die even. But I get to, I know how to take care of myself. I
Yeah.
know how to take care of my emotional needs so that I can survive that.
Yeah.
I'm no longer putty in someone else's hands
Yeah.
to manipulate and to make and to feel like a prisoner of all these emotions that scare me so bad. So
Yeah.
it feels so good to wake up and just know I'm gonna be okay.
I'm gonna
And
be okay.
no matter what happens, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah. And I know that's hitting close to home for me right now. The last couple of days, I have been just in a really snotty mood. There's just was some things that happened over the weekend, and my husband and I have to deal with somebody in our life that does a lot of manipulating and gaslighting and playing games and using kids to do it. And so, and every time we end up having to deal with any of that, it just really puts me in a mood because nobody likes that. And especially when you can't do anything about it. So, but, my choice this morning was I'm just in a really kind of depressing mood. I'm really pissed off at everything right now. And I was like, you know what? I am going to get out of my t-shirt and my sweatpants and I'm gonna brush my hair. I'm gonna do something nice. I'm gonna put on a nice top and I'm going to just dress up, wash my face, and put myself physically into a place where I am treating myself better. I'm gonna clean off my desk. I'm gonna fix me a lemonade. I did these little things to
Hmm.
try and move myself into a better place mentally and emotionally. Because the fact is, what is happening there is very painful and we are having to deal with it. We have no control over it. That sucks.
Yeah.
But what I can control is me and
Yes.
my mental health and my
Yes.
emotional health. So
Yes.
I can do what I need to step out of that being angry and depressed about it and make sure that I'm moving forward in a healthy way. Because otherwise, quite frankly, then the manipulation and the gaslighting wins.
Oh, sure, because it's like continuing in that mental space, choosing that is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. It's it
Yes,
doesn't work,
it
and
doesn't
we're
work.
responsible. I think that's the what you just said was you realized I'm responsible for how I get to spend the rest of this day.
Yeah,
And the freedom to be able to choose that. DB Bedford calls it catch and release. And so he says, look, you're going to catch some feelings throughout the day. You're going to catch feelings. He said, but catch them, acknowledge them to yourself, recognize, look, this is pretty frustrating, and I feel powerless and I'm a little nervous. I'm even scared by what could happen as a result of some of the stuff that's going on that's out of my control. And then decide how you want the rest of your day to feel and write it down if you need to. So if there's something you need to remember, and then release it like a fish. So he calls
exactly.
it the catch and release program. He doesn't want us to live in toxic positivity where we're running around going,
Right.
oh, everything's wonderful, everything's fine. He wants us to acknowledge we have challenges. We have people in our lives that can be challenging. And we have situations in our lives that can be challenging. We even have things that maybe we've done that we're living with that are, that are
Yeah.
consequences of some of the things that we've done way in the past, that we're still having to sort of live with.
Yeah.
And the reality is, we have to acknowledge this and keep leaning into the kind of life we want to live, the feelings we want to feel, and the legacy that we want to leave behind. All of
Right.
those things are within our grasp and our power
Yeah.
until we start offloading and blaming other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something every time we have to deal with this particular situation and person, as a chronic recovering people pleaser, I immediately go into that headspace of what did I do wrong? Am I the problem? Is it because of this one time or this other time? And my brain will start pulling things out that they probably don't remember.
Yeah.
It's probably just me, and it will start making me the problem. And
Yeah.
I am one of those people that will show up and be, maybe I'm the problem. And that's where I have to walk myself through um that differentiating between, okay, what actually happened? What do I have control over now? What can I learn from this? If I felt like I made a mistake here, whether they bring it up or not, what can I learn from that and do differently next time? This does not mean that I'm bad. This does not mean that I'm the reason for all of this. I made a mistake. I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn from it and I'll do better next time.
Right. One of the and I'm trying to remember his name because it's not mine. David. Oh, I can't remember his name. But this is not my original material. But he very astutely says, um, everything that we are triggered by, every single thing that we are triggered by in life, when we go out into the world and we're triggered and we're having feelings about something, it is a mirror pointing back at us, an area within us that still needs to heal. This
Yes.
is not not areas we need to perfect, because he's talking about, this is a great opportunity for us to look back and say, what part of me still needs to heal? Why
Yeah.
am I struggling so much with this person's manipulation, or
Yeah.
their reactions and responses to their world, and they're not growing at all?
Yeah.
Why is this triggering so much to me? And
Yeah.
then really have that conversation, because that is only where that lives. It does not live outside of us. We're not responsible for those people's emotional response to their life. So it
Yeah.
is, again, it's another one of those opportunities where we look and say, well, I'm super triggered by what's going on. What is going on? Why am I so triggered? Rather than trying to be responsible for making making the other person different. But
Yes.
when you come as, like you said, a recovering people pleaser, um, that often that is the kind of the refrain is, if I can, it might be the problem, and if I can hustle enough, I can change this person.
Yeah.
When that is not what we are called to do. What we are
No.
called to do is grow some more, and grow a little more, and
Yeah.
keep being honest with ourselves about what we're seeing in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the fact of the matter is, I can go over these situations in my head that I think I messed up in over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And I can constantly pull out things that I can work on. But that does not mean that it's going to fix this situation or fix this person or make them love us better.
No.
It's probably not going to happen. And so what is going to happen is I'm going to drive myself absolutely insane
Yeah.
over the edge of a cliff, trying to constantly, am I the problem? So,
Perfect yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. So that you can alternate, so you can alter their response.
Yes. And the fact is, I can't control them. So I
Right.
can control me. I can pick out, okay, here's how, if this happens again, I know how to better respond and then move on.
Yeah.
And
Move on.
I, and understanding that is not going to change them, but it can change me.
It changes everything about your experience of your life. That, by the
Yes.
way, this is our one precious life. And when we understand the responsibility we have for this one precious life, and we understand that this is one less day we have on earth with the loved ones that we have and our children. It's not one more day, it's one less day. We will treat it with a little more respect about how many minutes we allow in our day to be in pain that we can't change.
Right.
We can sit down and say a prayer for that person. We can do lots of things, but we must learn how to say, how do I want the rest of my day to go?
Exactly.
And then do the work for that. And the beauty of all of this is that that is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that, I often use to help myself get back into that is, like you said, is this how I want my day to go? Is this where I
Right,
want to waste my time and my energy?
right,
But then
right.
also, because I'm such a people pleaser, I'll envision somebody else in my head, like you or some of my other friends, and be like, okay, if they were sitting in the chair across from me having this same problem, would I hold them to the same standard I'm holding myself?
That's a great exercise.
So, and usually the answer is no. So, and then I know I need to knock it off.
Right, right. It really is, it's we've only got like 3 minutes to go, but I do want to say people pleasing is the worst addiction there is. I believe after the years that I've spent coaching, it is the foundational addiction for every other, and it's the springboard for every other numbing behavior there is out there. Because if you talk to any chemical addict of any kind, what they're numbing is the not enoughness.
Yeah.
And I mean, almost invariably, some people are numbing, PTSD and things
Mhm.
like that. However, the research about PTSD is very clear that not everybody gets PTSD, even soldiers. Not everybody has PTSD. Certain demographics, and they are typically demographics that had a questionable upbringing with regard to just an unsafe upbringing. So we know PTSD is layered. And so then we get into the people pleasing, and then that's another layer, and then it goes from there. But it is a terrible addiction.
Yeah.
So I
And
totally
people,
understand because we wake up every day, going, I mean, we have these little antenna and we go, how can I help? How can
yeah.
I help? How can I help? That's
Everybody
what we're
else's mood is my responsibility
Yes.
today.
Yeah. If I can sense, if I can sense, a lot of people call that empathy, or having a,
Being an empath.
being an empath. I would argue, and people don't like this. I love empathy. Empathy is good. And I do think that some people maybe suffer from that because like I can feel it almost in my body. But I would argue that being an empath it's a trauma response.
Yeah. Yeah.
People, it's we can use it for good. So,
Yeah.
but
That's
I
a
know
whole
we're
nother
out of
video.
town.
But
Yeah.
it's a whole nother video, but that's where that healthy self-reflection comes in. So, what are the facts and what are you responsible for?
Yes.
So, in the meantime, if you need help sorting through any of this, wondering if you're the problem, definitely look us up. Rachel is at mindhikecoach.com and I'm at okidokilife.wordpress.com. And this is why we are life coaches. We love helping people sort through this.
We
So,
do. Get a hike
and
in.
and in the meantime, we will see you in the next video.